Hey y'all, it's Katrina Roddy with Dream Forward University, and in the Growth Lab today, we are going to explain podcasts. Before I even get started, what's your favorite podcast? What is your favorite podcast? Right now, mine is EYL, which is Earn Your Leisure. They just have some good knowledge to throw out to small businesses. So if you want to follow them, go to EYL on your podcast and look for Earn Your Leisure. And I also like listening to, so I like watching documentaries. I'm a bit of a nerd. So anyway, I like watching documentaries, and then all of these like little docu-series that come out. I like watching those. And there are these two comedians that go through the documentaries or docu-series and rate it and talk about them. So I listen to them as well. So I like listening to those too. Those are the consistent ones I listen to, but I like listening to all podcasts. So, I like being a guest on a podcast, and I like listening to. So if you're out there and you need a guest, I can be your guest on the podcast. Anyway, we are going to jump right in and talk about, we're going to explain podcasts. This was a request from one of the members in my school, SKOOL. If you are not familiar with that, the link is here. Join my school community and you will hear tons of things explained. If you like listening to and hearing things explained, hit like and subscribe, and you'll hear it. You'll get there. Podcast, whether you're hosting one or you are being a guest on one, it is very important that you understand these things. Let me fix my camera. Look, y'all, my videos are not fancy. I'm just going to say that. And I don't care to make them that fancy. If somebody else want to make them fancy, I'm not making them fancy. I just want to explain something. Hosting a podcast. So if you want to be a host of a podcast, you want to come up and have all of this stuff and have a podcast, first thing you should do is make sure that you have a clear and concise theme. It could be relationship, it could be real estate, it could be house cleaning, it could be, I don't care. But you need an audience to go with whatever your theme is. So make sure that you have a clear theme and an audience that will follow that theme, which is not hard these days. People follow a lot of stuff that they want. So you'll find interest out there. But make sure that you have a clear theme and you have an audience. The customer avatar explained that I did follows us through every single explained, because I've already talked about having the perfect audience and narrowing it down to your customer avatar. This is the person you're talking to. Even if you do a podcast, that's who you're talking to. So go back and find that one. If you have not listened to it, go back and listen to customer avatar explained. All right, so pick a clear theme and audience, right? The next thing you want to do is be very consistent in this podcast. So a podcast is just like a radio show, right? So you want to make sure that that radio show comes on every day at 5 o'clock. I'm making this up. Every week on Thursdays at 5 o'clock. Every month on Thursdays, the first Thursday of the week of the month. Whatever it is. Have a very clear schedule for that so that people who are following you know what to expect by your schedule, okay? So you come up with your theme, you know your audience, you tell them when you're going to have your new episode. Good audio quality is probably the best thing I can say is good quality audio will overturn any fancy equipment. So you see people with the headphones, the microphones. Sometimes those microphones aren't even on. It's a show. But that's another show called, that's another explained. But anyway, making sure that you have good quality. So good headset, good microphone, they can hear you clearly. All of that plays a big role in making sure that people can hear and understand your podcast. So making sure you have quality equipment will do it. These podcasts can be repurposed. If you are a host, you can repurpose this. You can put it in a blog. You can put it in your social media. It now becomes a marketing tool for you. So hosting is not a bad idea. question I always had about podcasts was like, there's a lot of people doing podcasts. How do they make their money? I don't know. So I just mentioned that it's like a radio station. So radio station have commercials. So do podcasts. Podcasts will stop in the middle and say, hey, this is being sponsored. So you get sponsors. They'll say it's being sponsored by Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know. I made that up. But it's being sponsored. And if it's being sponsored, that's how they're getting their money. So you want to look for sponsors if you want to get paid in your podcast. If you don't want to get paid in it and you're just giving information out, then just do that. But if you're looking to get paid, you're going to have to look for sponsors. Okay? Does that make sense? That's what you're going to have to do. If you are hosting a podcast, those are the things. If you want to be a guest on a podcast, now you're speaking my language. Because, true story, 2021, I was just getting my business, like I started in 2020, but really ramping it up in 2021. In 2021, I decided that with my name, The Corporate Breakup, I wanted to coin the phrase corporate breakup. What does coin the phrase mean? That means that every time you hear the corporate breakup, you knew that Katrina Rowdy was associated. We go together, right? That's what I wanted to do. I'm like, I need to get out there enough to do that. I need to practice my message. I need people to understand what the corporate breakup is, why it's the corporate breakup, how I got the name, what did I do when I left corporate for 30 years, what happened. I wanted people to hear my story. So what did I do? I went to a podcasting search and I put myself out there. Now I pulled out a sheet of paper, out of a notebook, and I decided that I wanted to do 30 podcasts because there were 30 lines on that sheet of paper. So by the end of the year, I wanted to just complete that paper. I ended up with 100. So go find me on LinkedIn. There is a scroll where I'm giving credit to all of these podcasters that allowed me to be on their stage. But that's what happened. I ended up doing 100, and I found out later, I didn't know at the time because I was still new to the industry, but I found out later that probably half of those people, they called me to be on their podcast, and I probably reached out for the other half. And I found out later that people were reaching out because I was doing so many of them that I was high in the Google search. So if you search for me, go search for me now, podcasts will pop up. These people were like, hey, if her name is up there, I want my podcast to be up there with it. Let me interview her. And I didn't learn that till later about SEOs and the algorithms and all of that. But yeah, that's what happened. So go out, look for that. And if you find it, look at that list. If there's any of them that you want to be a guest on, like reach out to them. But that's what I did. I was able to do all of these podcast interviews. I loved it. I mean, I love telling my story. For one, it had me correct my messaging. I was able to, at that time, see what stuck with people, what resonated with people through my story. So I will encourage you all to start off, even before you host a podcast, be on a few first and figure out the setup and figure out how people are doing things and figure out, what that looks like. Being a guest, you got to pitch yourself to that podcast. So you have to send in a pitch statement. You have to tell them why you're relatable to whatever their mission is. You're not going to get on everybody's podcast, but you are going to get on some, and you can make yourself relatable to a lot of them. But I mean, it doesn't make sense for me as an entrepreneur coach to go on a podcast that's talking about baby shoes. No, it's not relatable. So find something that's relatable to what you're doing and pitch to those. I will definitely put a sample of a pitch in the comments, in a link for you to have and understand what a pitch looks like. So you have to pitch to them first. After you pitch to them, you have to come up with your story. Remember I said my goal was to coin the phrase the corporate breakup. I wanted people to understand why I left corporate, how I left corporate, what I did after I left corporate. I wanted them to understand that they're not alone, because at that time we were getting laid off and There was a lot of things that was going on, and I wanted them to hear that you can actually use the skills that you have to move forward in life. Everybody has some type of skill. So that's what that podcast was about. So I had a clear story, but what made it more interesting is that I was talking about it, and I was able to talk about it through all different platforms on these podcasts. So that was it. So come up with 3 to 5 bullets in your story and what makes you an expert in that, and talk about the things that you've gone through. Always leave a CTA, which is a call to action. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to go and get a freebie? Do you want them to go and get your guide? Do you have a book out? What do you have that people can go to? You have to tell people what to do. So I just said I'm going to leave with you a sample pitch so you can go get it. That's a call to action. Go and get my sample pitch. That's a call to action. The other call to action is like and subscribe to Dreamford University so that you can hear more explained. Those are call to actions. I would love for you to do those things. So a call to action is asking your audience to do something. Listen to my next workshop. Join me at whatever. Those are call to actions, okay? So always have a call to action, because at the end, they're always going to ask you, what do you want to say to your audience? And then you have your opportunity. I'm having a show. I'm doing this. I'm selling a house. Whatever it is, make sure you have a call to action, okay? And then follow up. Follow up with the host. They love that. I actually helped push out their podcast, because when they said I could be a guest, I would go into Canva or whatever form you use, and I created a post for them that says, I will be on this person's podcast, and they're talking about blah, blah, blah. So make sure you join the episode. So I helped promote it for them. So they were very grateful for that. So figure out, go back and contact the host, talk to them a little bit. These are real people. They're just like you. They wanted to host at one point. They started hosting, and then they want to be a guest at times too. I also suggest that if you want to host, before you even start, I suggested that you be on a podcast, right? But if you want to just start off your hosting to test it out, there's a site called StreamYard.com that I like to use whenever I'm doing an interview. StreamYard will let you stream on different platforms. So you can be live on Facebook at the same time you're live on LinkedIn, at the same time you're live on Instagram, at the same time you're live on TikTok. These are platforms, but StreamYard will allow you to do that while you're doing your interview. So check that out. Another tip I want to give you is podmatch.com. Podmatch.com is just like match.com, but for podcasters. You go in and you put all your information in. The host will go in, they put all their information in, and then there's an algorithm that matches you up. And so it gives you suggested host. These people may be good for your show. And then it gives the host suggested interviewers. So these people may be good. And then you just go through and make the connection. That's how I did it. That's how I got a lot of podcasts way in the beginning to be on their show. There's some other ones. I think there's one called Guestio. Just go and search for how to become a guest on a podcast, and it'll give you a couple of links or a couple of maybe apps that will allow you to put your information in, and then they can call you. You should never have to pay to be on a podcast. Should never have to pay, because these podcasters are looking for content, and they are not looking for you to pay. So be careful if you have to pay to be on a podcast. That's all I have for now about podcasting. I think I wanted to just go through the basics of it. And, now I give you some insight as to how to dive deeper into the world of podcasting, what it really is about. I love podcasting. If you want me to do an interview with you, let me know. I love to highlight our small businesses, especially in the work that I do. So I appreciate you listening to this explained. Hope it explained enough to you, gave you a couple of tips, a couple of podcasts. Please share with me the podcasts that you like so I can go and look at those as well, or listen to those. But in the meantime, it's Katrina Ronnie with Dreamford University here in the Growth Lab, and wishing you goodbye and good luck. Thank you.